a time, then we revisit it again, discuss it. So this session is going to focus on three, which is the basics of demand. I think the number is encouraging now, and I hope that some too will be joining. And I hope that some too will be joining as we proceed. Please, before we begin, I hope everyone can hear me, right?
Yes, please.
Yes,
Yes,
very
sir.
loud and clear.
Yes, sir.
That's
Yes,
fine.
we can hear you.
So let's begin with prayers, right? Someone should just say a word of prayer for us, and then we proceed.
Hello?
Yes, hello, we can hear you.
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
Let
Are you going to?
let us be in the mood of a prayer.
Okay, we are in the mood now.
Oh, Heavenly Father, we thank you very much for the life you are giving us. We thank you very much for bringing us together, Lord. We are asking of your enlightenment of our brains. Give us knowledge, give us understanding, and make our facilitator a good sound mind so that we can teach us and will understand. And at the end of the day, we will be successful and will glorify your name. We ask all this through Christ, your Son, Jesus. Amen.
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 That's great. So the theory of demand and supply. Today, our discussion is going to be on this important theory in economics. You cannot learn economics without learning this theory of demand and supply. It is very crucial to economic concept. So, as such, we have to look into it as managerial economics students. So, this session is going to, or this unit is going to cover 3 sessions. It's going to cover 6 sessions. So we have the unit outline. The session 1 is going to be based on basics of what is demand, what goes into it, and then also we have the session 2, determinants of demand, concepts of changes in demand, quantity. And then also the session 3, we deal with supply, definition, supply curve, and then the law of supply. Likewise, we also have the law of demand. And then session 4, we talk about changes in supply, change in quantity supplied, and determinants of supply. And then in session 5, we talk about determination of price, and then we end it with elasticity of supply. So before we can you hear me?
Which unit are we?
Unit 3, page 117. Page 117. Before we begin, there is an important overview here. We look into the maize market in Ghana. So you ask yourself, have you ever wondered why the prices of goods and services sometimes rises and fall? The fluctuation in price. You have to ask yourself, why is it that there are fluctuation in price? Today the price is high, tomorrow the price is low. What is causing that? As a consumer, you also have to be inquisitive and then ask about that. So for example, the average price of a bag of maize in Ghana usually starts at a lower price in the beginning of the year, and by April it has more than doubled. The price then remains stable for the rest of the year. Why do you think the price of maize rises and falls in the same year? I had a friend who is into farming, maize farming, and we were having a conversation, and I asked him that how is the farming now. He said, "Oh, this year prices have dropped drastically because there's a lot of produce. A lot of people have gone into maize farming, and now there are surplus. So they have to sell off the surplus they have. So what do they do? In order for them to sell off the surplus, then they have to reduce prices. All right. So that is just a fair idea of what goes into demand. So the price then remains stable. So sometimes price remains stable for a very long time, and then sometimes we experience high prices. Sometimes too prices comes down. Situations such as the behavior of price of maize described above can be explained by using demand and supply model. So in these instances, demand and supply model or this theory will help us understand why there are fluctuation in prices of goods and services, especially with the example given over here in the maize market. So this model predicts how buyers and sellers behave when they come together in a market and how this affect the market price and quantity sold and bought. So it explains to us how consumers and then producers interact in the market and how this interaction causes market price to fluctuate or determine the market price. So in this unit, we will learn about the fundamental of demand, buyer's behavior, and then supply seller's behavior, and explore how the interaction between them can be used to explain how the market price and market quantity of goods and services are determined in real world situations. So there are some objectives here that we have to achieve at the end of this unit. The first objective is that we should be able to distinguish between demand and supply. When we say demand, what does it mean? When we say supply, what does it mean? And what affects both? And how they can be used to determine prices and then quantity in a market. Identify the factors that determine demand and supply of a commodity. Explain the effect of changes in the determinants of demand and supply of the market price and equilibrium quantity. Equilibrium quantity, optimal quantity produced in the market. So that is where quantity and then the price meet. So we are going to talk about that as we proceed. Explain at least 4 factors that determine price, elasticity of demand and supply. Okay. The basics of demand. This session introduces us to the demand side of a market. A first-year student of a senior high school was asked to explain demand, and he said demand is when you ask for something. Yeah, so when you ask for something, it's also a demand, right? So do you agree with him? In this session, we shall learn the meaning of demand in economics and business and some of the important concepts in the theory of demand. So the example given when you ask for something, that means you have demanded for something in one way or the other. It can also be a request, right? So that is just a general meaning we can talk about demand. Now, when we talk of demand in economics, what does it mean? Economics have a way of defining demand. And I'm very aware that all of us here, during our ACHS time, we were taught this theory. And our teachers explained what demand is for us. So I would like someone to volunteer and then explain demand for me. Anyone to do that for me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's proceed. So demand for a commodity refers to the quantity of a commodity an individual, a group of people are willing and able to buy at various prices within a period of time, given that all factors apart from the price of the commodity are held constant. So the keywords over here refers the quantity of a commodity, right? The amount of goods or something that people are willing. So you are willing to buy that, and we are also able. So these are the 2 keywords here: willing and able to buy. Willing and what? Able to buy. You can be willing to buy something, but you don't have the money. All right. You go to the market, you see a very nice shoe. You wish that you could buy it. By your pocket, you don't have that amount to buy. So that is not demand. You are willing and you are able to buy that thing. So these two keywords are very important. Your willingness to buy it and your ableness to also what purchase it. To buy at the various prices within a period of time. So within a period of time, because prices fluctuate, so we look at the period of time. Okay, at this price, how are people willing and able to buy this commodity? Given that all other factors apart from the price of the commodity are held constant. Aside the price, given that all other factors are held constant. So we have a concept, or what we are going to talk about in the subsequent discussion. We are going to differentiate between demand and quantity demanded. Quantity demanded and then what? Demand. Demand, when we look at demand, we hold price other factors constant, but with quantity demanded, we factor in price. Okay. So other factors that are held constant here, we can talk about the taste of consumers. We can talk about the weather change. We can talk about prices of related commodities. These are all factors that we hold constant. That is what we see the ceteris paribus. All other things being equal. So you define demand, then you add all other things being equal, especially when we are giving out the law of demand. Okay. If you have a question, you can alert me. All right, you can alert me. Our time is very limited, then we have to make good use of the time. Okay. So first, what we can say about the definition above. First, demand is a flow concept. This means that we can better understand demand when we measure it within a specific period. That is why we factor in giving a period of time in the definition of demand. So for example, it does not make meaning if we know only of office demand, but have no idea of whether it is within a week or a month. So we should know the time period. All right. So that the definition of demand should always be within time period. Secondly, the word willing and able imply that demand is not only about the quantity of the commodity consumers are prepared or want to buy, but also what they are able and can buy. So as I earlier said, these two words are very important in the definition of demand. So when willingness of the consumer is backed by the ability to buy, we say that demand is effective. So your willingness is backed by your ability to acquire that commodity, then demand is very what effective. In economics, demand refers to effective demand. That is when the consumer is both willing and able to buy the commodity. And then the third one is not, demand is not the same as quantity demanded. As I mentioned earlier, demand and quantity demanded are all different concepts, even though they can relate in some way or other, but they are not the same. Okay, so notice that demand comprises of the quantity of the commodity we buy at all the various possible prices. All right, all various possible prices we can demand. All right, but quantity demanded, however, is the quantity of a commodity we buy at each possible price. So when you go to the gobe seller, the quantity demanded will be determined by the price. So you go there, you say, I'm buying gobe 5 cedis. It has its quantity. When you go and buy 10 cedis, it's not the same as 5 cedis. So these are what quantity, they are determined by the price. So each point on the demand curve represents quantity demanded. When you look at the demand curve, which we are going to discuss, we are going to look at it in the subsequent discussion. The points on the demand curve, the point on the demand curve. So each point on the demand curve represents quantity demanded. Demand is therefore made up of several quantities demanded. So that is the difference over here. So demand is therefore made up of what? Several. So not more than, it's more than one quantity that make demand, but quantity demanded is not made up of what? Several quantities are demanded. Okay. So we have the individual demand, and then we also have the market demand. When we say the individual demand, the two keywords differentiating these two is for the individual and then what the market. So the word individual and group of people, given in the definition of demand above, imply that in the market we can distinguish the demand by each buyer from the demand by all buyers. All right. So each buyer, we can distinguish his own demand, and then also we can distinguish that of the whole market. So an individual demand for a commodity refers to the quantity of commodity one buyer is willing and able to buy at all possible prices within given period of time, holding other factors apart from price constant. Okay, holding all other factors apart from price constant. Okay. Are you going to ask something? If you don't have any question to ask, please mute yourself. So an example of individual demand is Kofi's demand for Calipo fruit juice. This shows that the unit of Calipo fruit juice is Kofi is willing and able to buy at all the various prices of Calipo fruit juice. Kofi is willing and able to buy at all various prices of Calipo fruit juice within a period of time, say 5 months. All right. So we look at Kofi's demand for Calipo fruit juice. Here we have singled out one consumer and looking at how much he what or how many Calipo fruit juice he would demand within a period. So an example, say 5 months. So individual demand is illustrated on individual demand schedule. So the demand schedule over here is just a table, all right, indicating the demand of a consumer at various prices, giving the quantity demanded of by a consumer at various prices. All right. So it's just a table. So individual demand is illustrated on the individual demand schedule. An individual demand schedule is a table that shows the quantity of a commodity bought by one consumer in the market at all the various prices within a period of time. So when you look at the table over here, Kofi, the demand schedule for Kofi, all right. So at price 10, he demanded 10 units, 110 10 units of the Calipo. Price 20, he demanded 80. At price 30, he demanded 60. Price 40, he demanded 45. And then price 50, he demanded 35. One thing you should notice that as the price increases, quantity demanded what? Decreases. So there is an inverse relationship between price and quantity. That is very, very important. Take note of it. There is an inverse relationship between price and quantity and the demand. So when prices increases, we experience a decrease in quantity demanded. So price 10, he is demanding 110. And then at price 50, he is demanding 35. So as the price increases, the quantity demanded will decreases. So there is a downward slope. There is a downward slope or a negative relationship between price and then the quantity demanded. Okay. So market demand for a commodity, on the other hand, refers to the various quantities of a commodity that all consumers in the market are willing. So with the market demand, we are going to consider all the consumers in the market. Unlike the individual demand that we are considering only one consumer. So are willing and able to buy at all various prices within period of time, holding all other factors constant. We hold all other factors constant. So market demand for Calipo fruit juice is illustrated on the market schedule. So market demand schedule is a table that shows the quantity of a commodity bought by all consumers in the market at all various prices within a period of time. So now we consider more than one consumer in the market. So there is a demand schedule. So here, let's say for simplicity, we are considering only 3 consumers. These are more than one consumer. So we have the column for Kofi's demand for Calipo. power calls demand for calipo, AC's demand for calipo, and then the last column we have the market demand. So at price 1, Kofi is demanding 55. Power calls is demanding 50. AC is also demanding 60. So that runs throughout to the price 5. So to get the market demand, we add Kofi's demand at price 1, power calls demand at price 1, and AC's demand at price 1. So there's going to be a vertical summation of the rows. All right. We are going to vertically sum up the rows. So look at price 1. Kofi 55, call 50, AC 60. When we add it, we are going to get the market demand for that at price 1, which is 165. All right. Are you getting me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're getting.
Okay. So at price 2, we also do a vertical summation of that rule to give us the market demand. At price 3, we are also going to do the vertical summation of that rule to give us the market demand. At price 4, we are also going to do the vertical summation of that rule to give us the market demand. And at price 5, we are also going to do the vertical summation of that rule to give us the market demand. I'll get a time so that we solve some questions. We solve some questions, but before then, let's just discuss or have some discussions as we are supposed to have. So the individual and then market demand. So demand curve. Sorry, I think there should be a curve there. Individual and market demand curve. We are now going to discuss about the market demand curve and then the individual demand curve. So demand curve is a graphical representation of the quantity of a commodity that an individual or group of people are willing and able to buy at all various prices within a period of time. All right. So we have talked about 3 things now. We talk about demand. We talk about the demand schedule, and now we are talking about the demand curve. So these are tools that we use in economics, right, to explain. So we can use graphs, we can use tables, we can use equations to explain concept. All right. So we are going to look at the demand curve. So it's a graphical representation of the quantity of commodity that an individual or group of people are willing and able to buy at all various prices. So that the definition runs through, but given what you are asked to define, that is what makes the changes. So if it is a demand curve, then you introduce in the graphical representation. If it is a demand schedule, then you bring in the table. All right. So try and then note these differences. So it specifies the relationship between the demand, the price, and then the quantity. All right. So when you look at the demand curve, you are going to see on the vertical axis, we have price, demand, price of the commodity. And then on the horizontal axis, which is the x-axis, we are going to see quantity demanded over there. Okay, so to draw a demand curve, we need prices of various, we need the price of the commodity and the various quantity demanded. So there should be price for the commodities and then also quantity demanded. All factors can influence demand except the price of the commodity. So all factors can influence demand except the price of the commodity are assumed to remain unchanged. So when we look at demand, we say that all factors affect it, but the price remain unchanged. That is what we hold the price constant. What other factor can affect us from demanding much of a commodity? So now we look at when price is unchanged. So what is going to affect, what is going to make people demand more or demand less? All right, that is what we are trying to say there. So demand curve is constructed from demand schedule. So for you to be able to construct a demand curve, then we should know, or we should have a demand schedule. So we can have an individual curve and a market demand curve. So we can do that for the individual, and then we are also going to do that for the market. All right. So with the individual, we are going to deal with specific units, right? But with the market demand, we are going to deal with the entire unit. We are going to deal with the entire units. So geometrically, the market demand curve is the horizontal summation of the individual demand curves, as I earlier explained. Okay. So now look at the graphs over here. We have the individual demand curve, and then we also have the market demand curve. So here we are going to make reference to the table. We are going to make reference to the table. So when we are talking about the individual demand curve, we are going to use that of Kofi's only to draw the curve. And then also, when we are going to draw the market demand, we consider all consumers. So we have the vertical line, the horizontal line. The vertical line can also be referred to as the y-axis, and then the horizontal line can also be referred to as the x-axis. So on the x-axis, we put in quantity, we label it as what quantity demanded, and then on the y-axis, we label it as what price. So we start from 0, 10. So the interval is very important for you to be able to draw. You don't just choose a scale, all right? In mathematics that we did in JHS and SHS, we did transformation, right? And we were taught how to give a scale. So you can use 2:1, all right? So here the scale given is that let's say 1:10, right? So 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, all right? And then on the x-axis, we have 15. We have 15, or maybe 5. It can also be 5, right? Depending on the interval. So we have 35, 45, 60. All right. So what should be the scale over there for the x-axis? It can be 15, it can be 20, it can be 10. All right. But this is just an illustration. This is not drawn to scale. Okay. This is not drawn to scale. So sometimes in economics, when you are drawing these graphs, you are not required to draw them to scale, unless maybe you are given a graph sheet. Okay. We just want you to make a graphical representation, and then the idea should be there. Okay. So we are not required to draw to scale. Okay, you are not required to draw to scale unless maybe you are given a graph sheet. Then that one you have to do as required. And then also deriving the market demand. So we add that of what Kofi, that of Call, and that of AC. Then it will give us what the demand. All right, the market demand. So look, you see the plus sign there, the plus sign there between the three curves, which is giving us the market demand. And here the 5 there is indicating the equilibrium quantity. All right, the equilibrium where price and the quantity are equal. Okay, where the price and then the quantity are equal. That is the optimal. So we are going to talk about that as we proceed. Now, the law of demand. The law of demand. We know law. Ghana, we have laws and constitution that is we have to abide by. Same as when we come to demand, we also have. So in every jurisdiction, we have laws and how they do their things. So also in demand. So we can see that the normal demand curve is negatively sloped. All right. So when we say negatively sloped, in other words, there is a negative relationship between price and quantity demanded. So when price increases, quantity decreases. All right. So hence the demand curve slopes downward. So look at it. The demand curve slopes downward. All right. So 50, then it goes to At 50, you are demanding 35. At let's say 40, you are demanding 45. At 30, you are demanding 60. So you see that it's moving downwards. It's moving downward. That is what we say the negative relationship. All right, the negative relationship. And then also we are going to talk about it in terms of expression, using expression. So here, there is a graphical representation. We are going to use equation to also explain it subsequently. Okay. So that is slope downward from left to right. The slope of the demand curve shows that there is an inverse relationship between price and commodity and its quantity demanded. Consumers buy more at lower prices than at higher prices, even though there are some exceptions, all right, for goods of ostentation. Sometimes there are some goods that people buy. That goods they buy, no matter how high the price is, they demand more, right? Goods that they used to show off. There are some people who are wealthy, so for them they compete among themselves. So sometimes there are some these Bugatti someone can buy. You just want to show off, all right? So these are exceptions. These are exceptions. That is why we bring in all other things being equal. Ceteris paribus. The slope of the demand curve reflects the law of demand. This law states that all other things being equal. Take note of the law of demand. All other things being equal. When the price of a commodity is high, lesser units of the commodity is demanded. While at a lower price, more units of the commodity are demanded. That is a typical way the demand laws work. And if you want to experience this, then you look into the life of a Ghanaian. You look into the life of a Ghanaian, then you realize that yes, this law holds, because for Ghanaian, when the price is high, we don't buy. When the price is low, that is where we demand more. So that is it for you. The law of demand. So kindly take note of the law. Kindly take note of the law. One surprising thing is that even at higher level of economics, we still work with this law, but not in all cases. Sometimes we hold other things constant. So demand and supply is a very important concept in economics. It runs through most of the topics and is very fundamental to economics. It's very, very fundamental to economics. If you are going to be a good economist, if you are going to be a good managerial economist, then you should have a very good understanding of this theory, which is very, very important. Which is very, very, very important. Okay, so why do you think people will buy more of Calipo when its price falls? Or why are consumers willing and able to buy more units of Calipo at lower prices than at higher prices? It can be attributed to three main reasons. All right, the substitution effect, income effect, and the principle of marginality. The principle of marginal utility. So when you say substitution effect, to substitute something, all right, to substitute something. So we are going to talk about it subsequently, but let me just give you a brief understanding. So substitution effect is said that maybe there are two commodities in the market, right? They sell, let's say we have Pepsodent and then another, which other brushing paste do we have? The paste. We have
Colgate.
Pepsodent and we have what?
Colgate.
Close
Close
up.
Those are Colgate, yeah.
Okay. So when you are someone that uses Pepsodent, right? And then tomorrow you go to the market, you used to buy Pepsodent at 5 cedis. You go to the market, they tell you Pepsodent is now 7 cedis. Oh, then okay, close up near here. Close up is 4 cedis. Then you go and buy a close up. All right. You see, you have substituted. So this was a substitution effect. All right, substitution effect. And then also the income effect. Sometimes too, you are paid that you buy Gobe 5 cedis or 10 cedis. Then your manager increases your income. Next time you go to the market, then you tell the Gobe seller, give me Gobe 15 cedis, add chicken, add egg, then government seller will be wondering, hey, what, your money has come. You see, that is an income effect. And sometimes too, the income effect may be that you may be compensated by someone. All right. And then also the principle of marginal utility. The principle here is that the more you consume, the less satisfaction you derive. So sometimes you can be buying plenty. The more you eat now, then your satisfaction keeps on reducing. So this is also the principle of marginality. Now let us just go through the explanations over here, and then we move on. So first, note that in the fruit market, apart from Calipo, there are other fruit drinks. So as I said, example are fruit juice that and juicy fruit juice. So when the price of Calipo falls, it becomes cheaper relative to its substitute, which is fruity fruit juice and juicy fruit juice. All right. So consumers of fruity and juicy will therefore reduce the quantity of fruity and juicy and buy more of Calipo. So as I explained, so the willingness of the consumer to buy less of a commodity whose price has fallen instead of the other good is called the substitution effect of a fall or rise in price. Okay. So the same to income. Okay. So this concept too is better understood or better explained when we come into the consumer behavior. All right, consumer behavior. We are going to see this thing, same thing there, the income and the substitution effect, and then we have the compensation variation. All right, we are going to talk about it when we reach the principle of consumer behavior. So second, when the price of Calipo falls, the purchasing power of the amount of money spent on the purchase of Calipo increases, right? So maybe at the same income, there can be income effect, right? So maybe you earn 5 cedis monthly. Calipo is sold at 1 cedi, right? Then you go to the market, they tell you now Calipo is 50 pesos. That same 5 cedis can purchase more of Calipo. All right. So there is also an income effect there. So this means that the consumer now has greater ability to buy more of Calipo, even at the same income given. So for example, if the price of a unit of Calipo is 20 pesos and Kofi has 20 pesos to spend on Calipo, he can buy 1 unit. If the price falls to 10, Kofi can buy how many units? No, 2. Okay. So even though Kofi's money is still 20 pesos, the value of his money, real money, has increased as a result of a fall in the price. So similarly, when the price of Calipo rises, the purchasing power also what? Decreases. And then the third one, as we talked, is based on the concept of a consumer equilibrium and the principle of diminishing marginal utility. In the utility theory, the consumer is said to be in equilibrium when he buys a commodity at a price that equals to the satisfaction he hopes to derive from an additional unit of a good. This consumer or diminishing marginal utility says that the price you pay for the good should be equal to the satisfaction you get. All right. And it is something that we all experience. Sometimes you go and buy food. You buy food, but the satisfaction you get is low. Then you think that you have wasted your money. Why? Because we do apply this theory, but indirectly, some of us, we apply it without knowing that we have applied it. So sometimes you can use your money to buy something and you are satisfied with what you have gotten. All right. So indirectly, that means that you have equated your price to your marginal utility, your satisfaction. But if maybe it is greater or less, sometimes maybe greater, sometimes maybe less. If it is less, then you think that you have wasted your money. And sometimes you even think that, hey, so all this I paid 5 cedis. Then it's good though. The meaning that your satisfaction is higher. And then sometimes you just feel that, oh yeah, I deserve this. I deserve this. Is okay. This is okay for the money I paid. So these are the dynamics, right? These are the dynamics, and we are going to understand it more when we come to the principle of marginal utility or the consumer behavior. If the price of the commodity is less than the marginal utility, it means that consumer pays less for a given level of utility. This will motivate the consumer to buy more of the commodity. Okay, so you can read the rest for yourself. So our self-assessment questions are over here. So explain the difference between quantity demanded and demand for a commodity. Using income and substitution effect, explain why consumers buy more of a commodity when the price falls. Given the following demand schedule, graph the demand, the individual and market demand curve. I hope you can do that. I hope you can do that. I hope you can do that. Now let's go to the other. Okay. Let's go to session 2. Session 2. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Bashiru, do you have a question?
No, please.
Okay, that's fine. Determinants of demand and the concept of change in demand and quantity demanded. So, the brief introduction. You discovered from the introductory section that when the price of a commodity increases, people will buy less quantity of that commodity and vice versa. Ceteris paribus. It is always true that it is only when the price falls that a consumer buys more of a commodity. It's a question. Have you ever bought more units of yogurt even when the price has not fallen? This session will help you to answer this question. So, kindly mute yourself. Mute yourself if you don't have anything to say. Mute yourself.
I think Linda. I think it is Linda.
Linda, please mute yourself. So, at the end of this session, Linda, mute yourself. Okay. Who are those making that noise? They should mute yourself. Please mute yourself. Okay. So at the end of this session 2, we should be able to identify and explain 4 factors that determine the demand for a commodity. To use diagram to explain the difference between change in demand and change in quantity demanded. To identify the variables in a demand function and calculate demand from a demand function. Okay. So determinants of demand are factors that influence units of the commodity that will be demanded by consumer within period of time. The determinants can be put into 2 categories: the price condition and then the conditions of demand. Now, the price condition. This means that the commodity's own price is an important determinant. Okay, so considering the price of that commodity itself is a determinant. So whether consumers will buy more or less of a commodity depends on its price. Recall that consumers buy more of a commodity at lower prices because of substitution effect, income effect, and the principle of marginality. So whether you demand more or less, the price of that commodity in particular plays a key role. Okay, it plays a key role. Apart from the commodity's own price, there are other factors that can determine the units of calipo that will be demanded by consumers. What will be the reaction of consumers toward calipo if, for instance, there is an increase in their disposable income or increase in the price of related commodity? What about the situation where consumers of calipo expect the price of calipo to rise in the near future? Okay, expectation. In all these situations, the demand for caliper will rise even though its price may remain unchanged. We can therefore conclude that apart from the price of the commodity, other factors such as those mentioned can also determine demand for a commodity. These other factors are termed as conditions of demand. So let us discuss some of these factors. So disposable income of a consumer. So the general understanding or explanation is that when your disposable income increases, your purchasing power increases. When your disposable income decreases, your purchasing power decreases. And then sometimes too, it is in relation to the kind of commodity you are demanding. So we can have a normal good, and we can also have an inferior good. So a normal good is that it has a positive relationship with income. So when your income increases, your demand increases. All right. So in the same way, when you receive some windfall income, you will buy more of calipo and some other commodities. Goods whose demand increases as buyers' income increases are called normal goods. All right. So if that good, it increases in demand if your income increases, then it's a normal good. Okay. And then the opposite is an inferior good. So if your if your demand decreases, when your income decreases, then this is an inferior good. Increases, it is an inferior good. Okay. When your demand decreases, when your income as your income increases, it is an inferior good. So not all goods are normal. For some people, when they get more money, they rather reduce their demand for certain goods. Okay, so that is an inferior good. And an example is that when you give a student a money to come to school, in the first week, you'll be buying fried rice, you'll be buying pizza, you'll buy wache with 5 chicken. But along the line, he decreases the demand, right? Then he'll be eating gari. At that time, gari is not even his priority. He's eating good food because now he's having income. Now, when the income decreases, look at what he's falling on. He'll now be eating gari soaky. Sometimes the gari cry to just be raw one. All right. So just to give you an understanding of this inferior good. So sometimes when your income increases, now you stop eating those gari. You stop eating gari and stuff. But gari can be a normal good for someone, depending on the level of income. All right. So in Ghana, for example, food such as kokonte, gari, and insesawa herrings, you know herrings, right, are inferior because people consume less of commodities as they become richer. But this is not always the case. Kokonte is a normal good for someone, right? When his income increases, then he will eat plenty kokonte. When the income decreases, then he will fall on gari and other stuff. And I said the price of other related commodities. So other commodities too can influence the price of other related commodities too can influence your demand. So the example I gave in the Pepsodent and then the close-up, when Pepsodent increases, then you fall onto close-up. They all produce the same outcome. We use it to brush. Is that not it? You use this Pepsodent to brush. Use close-up to brush. So they all serve the same purpose. They all serve the same purpose. And then also we have expectation about the price of the good in the near future. So sometimes just the price expectation can increase demand or decrease demand. So you may be there and you may be anticipating that, hey, maybe the price of petrol will increase next week. So I have to fill in my tank I have to fill my tank so that when the price increases, I have already filled my tank. Or sometimes we go to the market, to buy something. When you go there, you see that the prices of tomatoes has decreased though, because there are a lot of tomatoes in the market. So you can expect, okay, maybe along the line or in the future, tomato prices may increases. So what should I do? Okay, let me buy more of the tomato now, so that in the future I have enough for myself. I will not be affected by the price increase. Kindly hold on. Just give me a minute. Okay. So expectation in price can also increase or decrease demand, or can affect demand. And then also taste and preference of the consumer. So sometimes you have a lot high taste for some commodity, and sometimes you have low taste of some for the commodity. A time will come you can be eating plenty gobe. By the time will come, you don't even feel like eating gobe. All right. So your taste, a consumer, as a consumer, how will you react to demand for commodity if you suddenly develop strong taste for it? You definitely buy more of it. In the same way, if you develop a dislike for it, you will buy less or you will not buy at all. It also affects demand. And also the population side. So if we have high population, then it means that demand will be high, right? If the population, there are a lot of people to buy, then that means that demand will also increase. So the market demand for a good depends on the number of buyers in the market. Or other things being equal, there are more buyers, demand for the commodity will be higher than when there are few buyers. This is the reason why sellers are always interested in the size of the market. The size of the market determines the demand for the commodity. So that is for demand. Now we are going to consider that of quantity demanded. So with the demand, we factored in the price condition, right? The own price commodity of the good. Okay. In our previous session, we learned that quantity demanded is the unit of commodity purchased by consumer at each specific price, and that quantity demanded is a point on the demand curve. It's the point on the demand curve. So considering that price of that good, this means that when we move from one point to the demand curve to another point on the same demand curve, we say that there is a change in quantity demanded. Right? So when we are on a point, then we say that is demand. But when we move in from that point to another point, then there is what? Change in quantity demanded. Okay, that's change in demand is a movement along the same demand curve. So change in demand is the movement along what? The same demand curve. This movement from one point to another is solely due to change in the price of the commodity in question. When the price of the commodity increases, there will be a decrease in quantity demanded, while a price decrease will bring about an increase in quantity demanded. Change in quantity demanded is illustrated on the diagram below. All right. So when you look at the change in quantity demanded over here, we have price 1, price 2, price 3, quantity 1, quantity 2, quantity 3. So at point A, quantity is Q1. Then point C, quantity now is Q3, given the price of P3. So there is a change in quantity demanded, right? There is a change in quantity demanded. Okay, now change in demand. Therefore, when there is a bodily shift of the entire demand curve, so look at the difference. Change in quantity demanded is what? Movement along the same demand curve. Okay, whether upwards or downwards, movement along the same demand curve. But change in demand is a bodily shift of the entire demand curve to the left or to the right. Okay, is the bodily shift of the entire demand curve to the left or to the right. So look at the graph over there. You see that either that the middle one, D0, shifts to the right to D1 or to the left, D2, right? So when that happens, we say that there is a change in demand. So a bodily shift of the entire demand curve, either to the left or to the right. There can be an increase in demand or a decrease in demand. When there is an increase in demand, the new demand lies to the right of the original demand curve, and then vice versa. And then the vice versa. Okay, so factors that brings about increase in demand. What are the factors that bring about increase in demand? We have increase in disposable income. Okay, the increase in your income, a decrease in income of consumer, which is what giving goods. So an increase in the price of a substitute, a decrease in the price of a complement, an increase in the number of buyers as a result of population increase, favorable taste and difference for the good, an expectation for a future rise in price of the commodity. These are all factors that will cause the demand curve to shift what? Right. Okay. Okay. That will cause the demand to shift to the right, which is D1. Okay. And then also factors that bring about a decrease in demand. Okay. So it's a mistake there. That should be a decrease, not an increase again. Okay. So that's a typo. It's a typing mistake there. So a decrease in disposable income, an increase. So just the opposite, right? So if there is an increase here, it should be what? A decrease. Okay. If it is fall, then it is rise. So we take note of that. Now let's go to the demand function. Here we are going to illustrate demand with expression or an equation. Okay. So as I said, the market demand function for a product is a mathematical expression showing the relationship between the quantity demanded and the factors affecting the quantity of commodity demanded. A demand function for the good X can be expressed as follows. So QX is a function of price of the good, right? The price of related goods. Okay. Price of related goods. So quantity demanded is what? A function of price of the good, price of the related goods, the disposable income of consumer, the population, and then what? Expectation. Population and then what? Expectation. So we have for use in managerial decision making, the exact relationship between quantity of demand and each demand determining variable must be specified. To illustrate this, the demand function for automobile industry is what? QX. QX equals B naught plus B1P plus B2Y plus B3PY plus B4A plus B5 population. All right. So we have to explain all this. So equation 3.1 explains a demand function. Okay. So we said that the quantity demanded is a function of price of the good. So that is the B1. Okay. The B naught here is what? Demand at constant. holding other things equal, or demand which is not affected by price. That is a B naught. So definitely, without price or price increasing or decreases, you have what you demand. It does not affect the price. So demand which is not affected by price. Okay, that is a B naught. And then the B1. The B1 is the slope. Okay, it helps us to understand the magnitude of change in quantity demanded if price change. Okay, and the B22 is also a slope, telling us that by how much will income increase, quantity demand increase if income increase, and then by how much will quantity demanded decrease if income decrease. And then also price of other related commodities, price of other related commodities, and then also population, and then also population. So the equation 3.1 states that the number of new domestic automobiles demanded during a given year million, QX is a linear function of its selling price P, disposable income, right, of the consumer I, the price of related TY, and then also advertising expenditure with a slope of D4, and then also the population. So which denotes the number of the B0, B1, B2, B3, B4, and B5 are called parameters. The values of the parameters can be estimated using the methodology of regression analysis. The resulting estimated demand equation as well as other estimated relationship will then be used by management to find optimal solution to managerial decision making. Now, there is a very, very important thing we have to note here. We said that there is a negative relationship between price and then the quantity demanded of the good, right? So if price increases, quantity demanded decrease. Now look at the expression 3.1, which is B1, the price of the commodity itself. The sign there is positive, indicating that when price increases, quantity will increase, right? Meanwhile, that is not the case. Okay, so there should be, the slope there should be negative. Okay, it is telling you that when price increases, quantity demand will decrease. So look, by the law of demand, we know that an increase in the quantity in the commodity's own price leads to a decrease in the quantity demanded of automobile QX. This means that B1 is less than 0, which is what? Negative. Okay, the sign of B2 will depend on the nature of the good. So B2 here is what? Income. So the income there, now we are explaining the parameters, okay? Whether there should be a positive relationship or negative relationship. So in a question or in an examination question, they can ask you, why is a normal good? So if it is a normal good, then there should be what? A positive relationship, which is what? Plus. But if Y is an inferior good, then that is going to be what? Negative, a minus. You understand? Please, are you getting what I'm saying? Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we understand.
Yeah, we can hear you.
We are
We are
with
getting
you,
it.
sir.
Okay. So whether the good is an inferior or a normal good, it will be negative for an inferior good and positive for a normal good. All right. And then also similar sign B3 will be positive or negative depending on whether the related good is a substitute or complement. So this is how you have to look. They can ask you to describe the relationship. So they give you this expression, describe the relationship, and then you have to go through all this. All right. So if it is a complement, complement means that you use it together. Okay, that good is complementing. So shoe and socks, or let me use brush and toothpaste. When people are buying more brush, indirectly toothpaste will also increase. Or let me use torchlight and battery, or phone and airtime. When you buy phone, you need airtime to make calls, right? So when people are buying more phone, that means that they will buy more SIM cards, and then indirectly airtime will also increase. So these are complement. So torchlight and battery. If people are buying more torchlight, they will need battery. Battery will increase. So these are complement. All right. If it is a substitute, close up and Pepsodent, these are substitutes. So if the substitute is going to be what? A negative. But if it is a complement, it's going to be, or there's going to be a positive relationship. Okay. So now let's go to or let's take an example over here. Let's take an example. Let's take an example. So look at the example over there. The 6,000 here means that demand demand which is not affected by price. Okay, demand which is not affected by price. So no matter what, the consumer will demand 6,000. Okay, so it's not affected by other factors. So that is the 6,000 there. Then now we look at the minus 2px. The minus 2px is telling us that the price of the good itself. Okay, the price of the good itself. Now look at the sign there. The sign there is very important. -2. What does the -2 means? What does the -2 means? The -2 is simply telling us that when price increases by a unit, quantity decreases by what? 2. Okay, quantity decreases by 2. And then also py. Py means that price of other related commodity. Okay, it represents price of other related commodity. So there is a positive relationship, which is telling us that what? It is a normal good. It's a normal good. So when income increases by a unit, quantity also what? Increases by what? 4. Okay. And then the I there is income. Please mute yourself. Please mute yourself. The I there represents what? Income. And then the A means what? Advertisement. So if there's an increase in advertisement, quantity also what? Increases. So suppose the price of good X is suppose the price of good X is 100 Ghana cedis and that of good Y is 50 Ghana cedis. If the consumer's income is 3,000 and the firm expends 1,000 on advertisement, calculate the demand for good X. Are good X and Y complements or substitutes? Will you say good X is normal good or Y? Or Y? So now let's look at the solution. So now we substitute. All right. Substitute. They gave us P, the price of the commodity, to be 100. So you look at where you see PX, you put in 100. Okay. Then they gave us Y, the price of Y, good Y, to be 50, with this other related commodity to be 50. And then they gave us 3,000. 3,000 as the income. So we substitute it there, income, and then advertisement is also 1,000. Then we substitute. Then now we get quantity demanded to be what? 6,000 units. 6,000 units. 6,000 units. Since the coefficient of PY is positive 4, we know that good Y is a substitute. We know that good Y is a substitute. Okay, substitute good. Because a unit increase in the price of good Y will increase demand for good X by 4. Okay, so when price of good Y increases, demand of good X will also what? Increases, because they are substitute. If you substitute it, so you increase your price, my quantity demanded will increase. If you decrease your price, my quantity demanded will also decrease. Okay. Let's proceed. Let's proceed. Note that the demand function above can be used to draw the demand curve. We can use the demand function above to draw the demand curve. To do this, we need to first remember that the demand curve shows the relationship between the quantity demanded and the price. So given that function, you can be asked to draw the demand curve. And how do we do that? So therefore, we substitute with the exception of price. So we put in all the values. So look at Px was given to be what? 100. But we will not put in Px because we want to establish a relationship. Okay. So we substitute all the values, advertisement, income, and then price of the related good, but we will not put that of X in the equation. So when we solve that, we are going to get X equals 6,200 minus 2Px. All right, minus 2Px. Then now we can use that to draw the demand curve. So now what we do is that we have now Qx equals 6,200 minus 2Px. We find the intercept. All right, we find the intercept. So at Q, when Q is 0, what will be P? And then when P is 0, what will be Q? All right, this is going to give you the intercept. This is going to give you the intercept. And then you use that to draw your demand curve. So equation 3.3 gives the equation for the demand curve. It shows that quantity demanded depends on the price of the commodity, ceteris paribus. However, remember that when graphing the demand curve, price is put on the vertical axis while quantity is put on the horizontal axis. P4 must be on the left-hand side of the equation. Okay. So now, we have the demand schedule for that. Given price at 100, what is quantity demanded? 6,000 as we calculated earlier. Okay, as we calculated earlier. Now, when price is 200, what will be quantity demanded? 5,800. When price is 300, what is quantity demanded? It decreases, and then 600, we get what? 5,000. So we can use this schedule to draw the demand curve. Okay, we can use this schedule to draw the demand curve. So price 0. Okay, price 0, 100. The curve is not well drawn. Okay, the curve is not well drawn. So kindly bear with me. So when price is 600, what is the demand? Demand is 0. All right, demand is 0. But when price is 500, demand is 5,000. Price decreases, demand is 5,200 to 6,000. The 6,000 here is telling us that is the autonomous. Okay, that is the autonomous demand. Demand not affected by price. Okay, so there are some self-assessment questions there that you can solve. So your assignment for today is going to be this assessment question under section 2. Okay, solve all questions and then forward it to me on the page. The assignment I gave you under the first topic, some of you did not submit theirs. Please kindly do that. Kindly do so if you have not done it. Okay. This assignment. Okay, so please kindly get in touch. Kindly get in touch so that you can be added to the page.
So please, today's assignment, when is the deadline?
Wednesday, we submit it on Wednesday.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir,
So
please,
you
what's the
saw
assignment for today?
under session 2. Session 2, you solve all the questions. So look at it. Mention and explain 4 factors that determine the demand for a commodity. Write with the aid of diagrams to explain the difference between change in demand and change in quantity demanded. All right. So answer up to number 5. Answer to question 5, and then you point it to me on the page. It's very, very important. You can even, yes. Hello,
Yeah,
are
please,
you
some of us
talking?
are not in the group.
Yes. So I said the material given for the managerial economics. You go to page 135 to 136. The assignment is there. Page 135 to 136. The assignment is there. You solve it, and then you send it to me in a PDF form in the WhatsApp group. And you say you are not in the WhatsApp group, kindly get in touch so that you'll be added. Kindly get in touch so that you can be added to the WhatsApp group. We are now going to session 3. Session 3 is, yes.
Are we to work all the questions under unit 2, or now you are saying this one, session 3, and
Yes,
3, session
do only the session 2. Do only the session 2.
Okay.
That is the first assignment I'm giving.
Like,
As we go on, I may add.
Unit 3 or
Unit 3, yes.
Unit 3, section 2.
Okay.
Yes. Page. So write the page number 135, 136.
Okay.
The assignment is there. Okay. If you understand the concept of demand, then it is going to aid our understanding under the concept of supply. So I'm going to be very fast with that of supply. So there's law of supply. Supply means that the quantity of goods and that producers, all right, are prepared and able to offer for a sale at a particular price within a period of time. That is just the opposite of that of demand, right? So with supply, we are dealing with producers. So the law of supply says that when the price is high, producers will supply more. And then when the price is low, producers are also going to supply less in the market, all other things being equal. Okay, so you can read it, the law of supply, as I earlier said, you can read it. And then also we have the supply schedule. As I said, the demand schedule, a table which represents the quantity demanded by commodities by consumers in the market at various prices. So in the same way, supply, quantity supplied by producers given prices within a period of time. So we know that the supply has a positive relationship with what? Price. So when price is high, producers will supply more, and when price is low, they supply less. All right. So when you look at the supply schedule, when price is at 1 cedi, they supplied only 5. When price increases to 2, they increase their quantity supplied 10. Price 3, quantity supplied 15. So in that order, price keeps on increasing. When as quantity supplied also what increases. So the supply curve indicates the relationship between price and then the quantity. A graphical representation of the price and then the quantity supplied. So there is a positive slope, a positive relationship, right? So look at the supply curve, it increases upwards. It is what? Upward sloping. At price 2, quantity is 7. Price 3, quantity is 12. So it slopes upward. So we also have the same individual supply curve and individual market supply curve. So when we talk of the individual supply curve, we are talking of what? That of an individual. But when we are talking of the market supply, we are looking at all the producers in the market. So the market supply schedule here we look at that of supply of Jatex Co Limited and supply of Gabe Co Limited, right? So we add both horizontal summation, okay, horizontal summation of various prices and then quantities. So K1 plus Q2 gives us the market price. So 20 plus 25, 45, 15 plus 20, 35, 10 plus 15, 25, 5 plus 10 is 15, and then 0 plus 5 is 1. So look at price 1, Jatex supplied 0. Jatex supplied 0. There is no incentive to supply. So that is the how we derive the supply curve. So to draw, you use that to draw. Okay, deriving the market supply curve for Calipo. Supply curve S1 and S2 shows the individual curve for Jatex and Gabi, respectively. The supply curve SM is the market supply. So the S1 and S2 is the supply curve for Jatex and Gabi, and then the SM here is what that of the market supply. So please, when you go, refer to the table, try and then construct the supply curve for the various producers, that of Jatex and that of Gabi, and then also the market supply. Use the table to do it. Okay, it's not an assignment, but try and then do it to better your understanding. Okay. So we have self-assessment questions over there too, which is you can the self-assessment question. So this self-assessment question, you solve it. So I'm adding it to the assignment. Okay. Can you see it? Question 1, 2, and 3. Hello.
Hi. Yeah.
I'm adding that to the assignment too. I'm adding
Okay,
that to the assignment.
So it's session 2 and session 3.
Yes, session 2 and session 3. You solve all the questions there, the self-assessment questions. Okay. Now we are going to session 4. Session 4, we are going to talk about change in supply and change in quantity supplied and determinants of supply. It is the same concept we are going to use here, but here we are going to talk about it in supply terms, not in demand term. All right. So change in quantity supplied. So change in quantity supplied, we define quantity supplied of commodity as the quantity of that commodity that a seller was prepared and able to offer at a particular price within period. So change in quantity supplied occurs when there is a movement from one point of the supply curve to another point. Okay, so when there's a movement from one point of the supply curve to the other, not a bodily shift. Okay, movement along the supply curve. Movement along the supply curve. So when I'm from A, when I'm at A and I move to B, there is what? Change in quantity supplied. But when the supply curve, the entire supply curve shifts to the right or to the left, then there is change in what? Supply. We say there is a change in supply. But when we look at quantity, change in quantity supply, then it's along the supply curve, okay, from A to B to C. That is what? Supply curve, or is it even a decrease? CBA. That is a change in quantity supplied. Okay, so as I was saying, look at the change in supply. A bodily shift. There is a bodily shift of the entire supply curve, either to the left or to the right. And then we also have factors influencing the supply and then the supply curve and the supply function. So what will influence the supply curve or the supply function? So technology. Technology is very important in determining the quantity or the supply of a producer. So if a producer is having much technology at his disposal, then equally he can produce more, he can supply more. So you cannot compare yourself, or I want a perfect example. Someone who sells in a small quantity to someone who sells in a large quantity. Definitely the one who produces in a large quantity will supply more than that of the one who produces in a small quantity. All right. So here technology can be a factor. Maybe that person uses tractor in farming. He uses sophisticated machinery, so he can produce more. But the one that uses only cutlass and a hoe cannot produce on a large scale. So technology affects. And then also business expectation. Your business expectation also affects. So what men anticipate about the profitability influence their decision. So what you anticipate about your profitability is also influence your decision. If they expect profit to fall or expect the firm to make a loss, they will reduce the supply of the commodity. All right. And then vice versa. Environmental factor also count. If there are a lot of unstable conditions, war, a whole lot of uneasiness, then they cannot supply more. An example is during the coronavirus time, this pandemic, people were not going to work, so it affected production. These are all environmental factors. Tribal conflicts, civil war, natural disaster, fire outbreak, flooding, all these affect supply. And then also infrastructure availability. Some people do not have this infrastructure, storage facilities. So he cannot produce more, or he cannot produce in a large quantity because they are going to go waste. But if if infrastructural facilities are available, then the firm can produce more and store them. You cannot buy fridge. You are someone who produce maybe sobolo, but you don't have that fridge to keep them. So you just hand to mouth. You understand? But some people are having this infrastructure at their disposal, so it affects their production or their supply. And then also cost of production. When the cost of production is very high, taxes and factoring in the exchange rate difference, and these are all factors that can affect supply. All right. So cost of production, if it is very high, producers cannot produce more. If the cost of producing a particular product increases, given the level of capital, fewer raw materials can be purchased, therefore less can be supplied. All right. So the raw materials that you use in your production increases, the income of laborers increases, then it's all going to affect the level of supply. Okay. The supply function is also a function of the price. All right. It's also a function of the price, technology, cost of production, government policy, and then the environment. Okay. It is a function. We can also expand it. We can also include other factors. We can also include other factors. So the supply function above shows that the amount of bread the bakery will supply depends not only on price of the bread, but also on all the other factors that shape the supply curve. So when you look at the expression Qx equals A plus B1 px, that is the price of the commodity itself. Okay. And then the T, technology, PC, cost of production, TX, technology, right? Or tax, the TX, tax. And then also the E, the environment, okay? And then the G, government subsidy. So government subsidy, the government can subsidize production or can also either tax, okay? So these are all factors that affect demand, supply. So if a negative sign is attached to the variable, it means that the variable is negatively related, okay? If it is a positive 2, it means there is a positive relationship between the two variables. Okay, so now let's look at the example 3.4 under the supply. So with the supply, there is a positive relationship between the quantity supplied and the price of the commodity itself. Okay, so when you look at the expression given, expression 3.5, you will see that the PX and then the QX, there is a positive sign. There's a positive sign. Okay, so that is telling us that when price of that commodity increases, then the quantity supplied also what increases. The quantity supplied also increases, and then also the other factors. So the PX is the selling price of a bag of maize. PF is the selling price of fertilizer. Okay, when fertilizer increases, quantity will decrease because you cannot buy more. And then rainfall, high productivity of maize. Low rainfall, low productivity of maize. Okay, so the example given is that the bag of maize is sold at 100 cedis. The price to not have 50,000.
Hello. Oh, hello.
Yes, sir.
So there's a mistake.
The line is breaking.
Eh,
I don't know if it's for my
Yeah,
end.
he's back.
Since the
Gone again. Oh.
Sir, please, the line is breaking.
in
Sir, please, the line is breaking.
also
Oh, we can't hear anything, sir.
Can't hear anything. Oh. Sir,
terms of what price 200, then we can Q is 0,200 or accept we are going to transfer.
sir, please, sir, we can't hear anything. Oh.
Sir, please, we are not getting anything you are saying. The line is breaking, please.
Have to do.
So you refresh your phone or laptop, it will come.
Hello.
So we are not hearing.
Sir, we can't hear anything. The line is breaking.
Linda,
It's like it's called Lendo. Oh, no, sir. Can you refresh your site? We are not hearing. Or better still, you can log out and log in again.
I think it's from his side, not. It's not us.
Yes, the fault is
So
from
you
the
can
side.
offline then come back and see if it will come up. Because the network, we can't even hear anything. The screen self is not coming.
Okay. I think it's from his side because I can hear all of you. Hello, class. Please, are we here?
Yes, but
Oh,
doesn't
okay.
anybody have contact so that you can contact him and alert him so that you go off and come back again?
I don't have his contact.
Those of you who are in the common platform,
Hello.
you can get the contact.
Yeah, I think I told him to log out and log in again. So please, let's be patient.
Okay.
Yes.
Next class is in less than 11 minutes.
Please, is the lecturer gone or?
Please, I called him. He said we should wait. He will join us.
Okay, thank you.
But the next class is in less than 10 minutes.
The company law. The company law class.
Hello. Please, do you guys meet during the week?
You said
Yeah, we meet this lecturer on Thursday as well, 7:30.
Please tell me what time.
7:30 p.m.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You said Thursday.
Please, is it
Please, 7:30 p.m. for what? Hello. The
Yeah,
7:30 p.m. is
7:30
for
p.m.
what?
Yeah, in the evening, PM.
Today evening
it's
or
for which for
is it today evening?
Thursday, 7:30. Thursday,
Okay.
7:30 p.m.
which Kabashiro?
Hello. No.
Yeah. What were you
Hello.
saying, Bashir? What were you saying?
No, someone was asking if we meet again, like we meet during the week, this very class, like with
Okay.
Mr. Mubarak. And I said, yes, Thursday, 7:30 p.m.
7:30. Okay.
Yeah.
It's almost time. So can we just make it this week, Thursday? Or
Hello? Hello? Please, I wanted to like if it's the same link for the Thursday class.
He said,
Please, I'm asking if it's the same link for the Thursday class. If you use the same link for the Thursday's class.
yes, that is the same link. That is the same link, Joanna.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hello. Those that are not part of the group, check the comment section. My number is there. Chat me, and I'll add you.
Hello. Hello.
You can also put the group link
Hello.
in the comment section so that people can there.
Hello. Hello.
Listen, please talk. Yes.
Hello.
Can you hear me? This Mubarak. I've joined with a different line. This Mubarak.
Okay.
Okay, please, we can hear you.
Okay, sir.
Okay. But okay, hold on. I'm coming. Let me try to connect my own and see. I had an issue here with my network. That is why.
Next class is also
Okay. Now I've joined.
Hello, sir. Oh, it's going on. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I was talking about the time too.
Yeah,
like our next is almost
Please, we can hear you, but the
time.
time
It's
is
almost
almost up.
Yes, I know. It's almost getting to time, but
okay.
we can do something. So hold on. Let's wrap up. So we are going to the next thing we have to do for the day. Session 5, we are going to talk about determination of price. How to determine price in a market. All right. So in a competitive market, equilibrium is established when supply equals demand. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I said that with the session 4, you do the self-assessment there. They're under the supply. Okay. You solve the questions there. You solve it. So I've added it to the assignment.
So
I've added it to the assignment.
3 and 4.
Yeah. 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So now we are going to do the determination of price. How price is determined in the market. All right.
Yeah.
So in a competitive market, when we say competitive market, yes.
I think the time is up.
Yeah, I know time is up. Just hold on. Just some few minutes. I'll finish it up. So price is established when supply equals demand. Okay. Whenever supply equals demand, then that is where the equilibrium is the optimal. All right. So at that point, both consumers and suppliers are satisfied because all the consumers are willing and able to buy or supply, and all that suppliers are able to offer for sale are bought. Okay. So when you look at the diagram over here, you see where the point is, where the supply curves meet the demand curve. That is where the equilibrium point is. So at that point, all consumers and producers are satisfied because all the goods are sold. And also the goods produced by the suppliers are demanded by the consumers. So above it is surplus. Below it is what? A shortage. Okay. So to find the equilibrium price or quantity, we equate the quantity demanded. We equate quantity demanded by the quantity supplied. Okay. So look at the example. You have QD equals 25 minus 3P. And then QS equals 10 plus 2P. So we equate QD to QS. Okay. Then we are going to get the quantity supplied. The equilibrium quantity and then the equilibrium price. So please kindly go through. What we have next is not many. and we can finish it on Thursday. So let's end it here. Let's end it here. But read before we meet on Thursday. All right. Read before we meet on Thursday so that we move faster. We move faster. So I think this brings us to the end of this unit 3. So read section 5 and section 6. Okay, read section 5 and then section 6. And then also do not forget with the assignment I've given you. Try and submit it. Those that have not submitted theirs, the previous one, you are warned. You are warned. Try and then do it for your own good. For your own good. Okay. I wish you all the best. Have a nice day and then a fruitful weekend. Bye.
Bye.
Someone should say okay. Okay, let's just end it. Bye bye.